And welcome to another episode of my Christian Music Weekend Reviews. Each week, I take 5 releases, albums or singles, and after having listened to them all week, I come back here and I review them. I share what I think about them. So, without further ado, let's get to this week's first release, Bethel Music's new instrumental album, Without Words, Genesis. New instrumental album, Without Words, Genesis, definitely allows us to hear a different side of Bethel musically, with the way the violin, electric guitar, drum, bass, and keyboard, definitely the keyboard and synth elements, I think, are really what allows us to hear a little bit of a different side of Bethel with this project. And while there are no lyrics here, these are instrumental versions of songs that originally had lyrics, so if you're really looking for a message from this album, obviously you can always sing along with the instrumentals if you know the words to the songs, and the songs do proclaim a pretty good message. They talk about God's love being greater than fear, talk about Him moving, and talks about how good He is. Up next, Donnie McClurkin's new album. New album, a different song. It's definitely a gospel effort for the most part. There's a couple songs that lean more on the modern worship side of things, but for the most part, a whole lot of gospel here with the gospel choirs, and then there's a lot of horns on this album too. There's definitely some horns on here. As for the lyrics here, I think it would be best to break it into two parts. So a lot of the earlier part of the album just cries out in praise to how great God is, while the second half talks about trusting that God's in control and running to Him with our problems, with our cares. Up next, Jason Gray's new single, Remind Me You're Here. His new single, Remind Me You're Here, which is the first single from his upcoming EP, Disorder, which follows the first EP in the series, Order, which came out back in August. And by the way, I reviewed the first EP if you want to hear my thoughts on that. Just go to the August 16th reviews video and that's where you'll find it. Well, let's talk about this single. Kind of has a softer pop rock feel to it, kind of, I would say. Really, really, really nice song here. As for the lyrics here, great lyrics. Talks about how so often we ask God questions like, God, why did you do this? God, why did you do that? It talks about how sometimes, though, even if we were to get an answer, it wouldn't necessarily fix everything. So what we really need God to do, the song says, is just have Him remind us that He's here with us in the midst of whatever we're going through. Up next, Propaganda and Derek Minor's new collaborative EP, Nothing But a Word. Derek Minor's new EP, Nothing But a Word, is definitely a hip hop effort with the bass, the synthesizer. Also, I thought it kind of cool that they threw some electric guitar in there. Don't always hear that in hip hop music, so it was kind of cool. That was featured a little more extensively than usual on this EP. And it's Propaganda on raps, and then Derek Minor does the hooks a little bit. I do think, though, that the collaborative feel would have benefited, though, had Derek Minor rapped a little more. That's what I feel like, at least. As for the lyric, but maybe knows, maybe that's the point. Derek Minor doing the hooks, and then Propaganda doing the rapping. Even though, don't get me wrong, Propaganda is a great rapper, and he shows on this EP, and Derek Minor's a pretty good singer, too, so... But I'm just saying, I expected Derek to rap, so I was a little surprised when I made it through the whole EP without hearing that. As for the lyrics, anyhow, though, great lyrics, kind of come down on the bolder side of things. Talks about loving our neighbor, basically, and how that might look and even if that neighbor looks a little different or thinks a little different than we do. Up next, our last release today, Stillman's new EP. Wherever You Are has a bass and guitar, and I mean acoustic and electric guitar defined sound. As for the lyrics here, great lyrics. They're very intimate. He's very intimate with his relationship with God, as the lyrics show. He talks about how he needs to draw near to God, and how God is drawing him to himself. And it also talks about surrendering to God as well. Come back next week for 5 more releases. And by the way, a little bit of a format switch. As you know, Thanksgiving is coming up this week, so next week's video will be the first in a series of Christmas review videos that I'm doing. Thanks to the 2 people that have already requested. Thanks to my mom who requested a release, and then thanks to another fan, a commenter, who commented me and requested a release. So we'll be sure to get both of those in this first one, and then we'll just pick out 3 more. Of course, though, if you do have any thoughts as to what any of those other 3 releases should be, please comment below. Please don't let your release be left out. Also, if you hear any releases today that you'd like me to review after Christmas, please comment that below too, so I know, and I'll just remember that until I come back from Christmas music. Also, if you like what you saw in this video, please subscribe. And also be sure to give me a like on my Facebook page. I'm going to leave that in the description below. Well, I'll go now. Bye.